That was actually a pretty good little. I assume that was an ad lib. That was a pretty good line of his. That, hey, I could use it. Okie doke, thank you.
Sunshine for your Friday, a cooler day with a high near 55. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
On air, online, on demand, and on video. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
What are we talking about today? Well, we continue to analyze this week's gubernatorial debate in West Virginia. Next, Star Media's chief political correspondent, Mark Curtis, will be in just a bit. Law enforcement going to be watching the polls in Belmont County during early voting after some aggressive behavior toward poll workers occurred this week. Folks who refused to put on a mask and take off political slogans, shirts, and hats, and so on. As COVID creates a teacher shortage in West Virginia, student teachers are now going to be allowed to be hired as substitutes in your school's classroom. Marshall County has turned orange on the DHHR map. What does that mean? In only a minute, we'll talk to Mark Ackerman about that from the Marshall County Health Department. And we'll talk about how we're planning to celebrate Halloween. Walmart expands Black Friday. Is your house haunted? All of those things coming up here on the Watchdog Morning Show. It's a tale of two halves, is the way Zach puts it for the weather today. Starting off nice. It's clear skies right now. Sun's coming up. It'll be a nice sunny morning, but then the sun will give way to clouds thickening up in the afternoon, bringing some rain in maybe around 4 or 5 o'clock or so later this afternoon. Daytime high 68 right now. And let me just double check to make sure the temp hasn't changed. I'd like to be accurate with you people. It has. It's gone up one little soldier. 62 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 62 at the home studios here in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. And 62 and clear at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Had a commercial running there for the Wheeling Area Chamber of Commerce, Biffy, which reminded me that Erica Storch finally called me yesterday. Erica was scheduled to come on with us on Monday to talk about the Wheeling Christmas Parade, and got no Erica. But she profusely apologized when she called me, and she was very polite and said, "I don't suppose you want me back anymore, do you?" I said, No, we'll do it again. So she'll come. We'll talk about Wheeling Christmas Parade next Monday.
She might have been out with Dave. Who knows?
Well, I am happy to have her on again Monday. Actually, we should be on 2 times next week. We're going to talk about the Chamber of Commerce and the Christmas Parade with Erica on Monday. And then on Wednesday, she is our scheduled guest for the Conversations with Candidates sponsored by the Upper Ohio Valley Building Construction Trades Council. Those folks schedule those interviews for us, the construction trades do. And Erica is running for re-election on the Republican ticket for a 3rd District delegate. And so she'll be with us on Wednesday to talk about the delegate. So I told her, I said, Monday, strictly Chamber of Commerce. Wednesday, strictly legislative matters. So that's a bit of what's coming up. When we talk about the color-coded map, most of the time we're paying closer attention to the Department of Education map than we are to the DHHR map. And as you know, there are each map is a little bit different. There is the original map, the Harvard Global Health Initiative map, that is a much tougher map with metrics and so on. Then there is the DHHR map here in West Virginia, and then the Department of Education takes the DHHR map and massages it a bit and comes up with their map, which controls the schools. And that's where most of our attention is. But yesterday, the DHHR map came out, and Marshall County was in the orange category. Health departments, unlike schools, are paying attention to DHHR, not Department of Education. Mark Ackerman is with us from the health department down there, Threat Preparedness Director. Mark, good morning, sir. What does it mean to go orange?
It means a lot of problems for us. Within 3 minutes of the map going up yesterday, I received a message from the state saying you need to set up testing immediately today. So within 2 hours, we had the testing testing center up and running outside of the health department here that day.
So is that still going on, or
Yes,
tell me about
we'll
that?
be up and running again today, tomorrow, 10 to 6, and we will test daily until we come out of orange.
So I was surprised when I saw this yesterday, only because we pay so much attention to the Department of Education map that, the daily DHHR map, I don't monitor nearly as much. But in point of fact, that's the controlling map for you guys, right?
It is. We monitor both because, the DHHR map feeds the State Department of Education map on the Wednesday or the Saturday map. And we have a weekly verification of details every Friday morning. So because all these are from Thursday night at midnight. Friday morning, we have to verify all the numbers that are on the reporting system for the state. And then that's when they start working on the Department of Ed map. So both of those maps are very important to us.
But unlike the Department of Education map, which the Saturday map's the only one that the school systems have to really pay attention to, the DHHR map comes out daily. You've got to keep an eye on that daily. Is that right?
Yeah, it's updated every day at 10, and actually the school systems, they're watching the DHHR map much closer than what most people think because of the fact that they can watch the trends with us. We're on the phone multiple times a day with the schools, and if we start to see some changes, they're actually working on plans what happens if we go red.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure the department and actually, if things go red on a daily basis, the schools have to apply. The schools can't wait till the weekend if it turns red. If you turn red, you've got to immediately adapt to that. So I guess they do pay attention to the DHHR map. I'm just so used to waiting for Saturday to see what colors are going to be. You've had a couple of pretty aggressive days here the last few days with more cases down there, though, in Marshall County.
Absolutely. With Monday, where we had 16 cases that came into the health department that day. Yesterday, we actually had another additional 8 last night. So we've had a busy week. We're afraid of what 10 o'clock is going to bring this morning.
Really?
Yeah, we're scared almost.
Somewhere, it may have been in some information you sent me. What are your numbers? Not the total, not the case numbers, but your percentages and so on. I saw that somewhere? I can't find it in front of me now.
Well, just for yesterday, the infection rate for the county was 15.91, and what actually got us in was the percent of positivity, which is a 5.37, which is on the low scale for the orange, but it was enough to move us over into the orange category.
But if you have another day like you had, 16 and then 8, if you have another multiple days, it could tip the scale a little bit, right?
Absolutely. When we're looking at our 7-day trend on our map system here, we lose a 5.8 today, but tomorrow we drop off 10.91. So we have had some very high numbers over the last week or so.
What's going on?
A lot of events. People are trying to get back into their daily lives, and we understand that. But it seems like maybe they're not doing the social distancing. Maybe they're not doing the masks. We've had a couple of events down here that the health department had. We don't have to approve them. We just try to work with people that are having events, give them ideas, give them guidance to try to keep people safe. They've not contacted us. We get a phone call on the weekend or whatever, and we see a large-scale event going on and nobody wearing masks.
It is. I'm as you probably know, Mark, I'm really very super cautious about everything. I'm in a very high-risk category. I haven't basically left the house for months, broadcast from home and all that kind of stuff. I always wear a mask. But even I have noticed in my own situation, I'm getting a little bit lax. I was at a meeting last night, went in with the mask on, but during the meeting I pulled it down because my beard was itching, and it was like halfway through the meeting I realized, I didn't even put the mask back on. I guess we're all kind of getting tired of having to live by these guidelines. And again, there probably isn't anybody who's more fixated on doing it right than I am. But I'm thinking about going to. I had plans to go to a restaurant for the first time this week. Not that you can't do that, but I'm just so cautious about it. I just think we're all slipping back a little bit into our old routines.
I think we are, and I mean, we want the public to kind of get this back to a frame of mind where it's a little bit more prevalent with them, because of the fact that right now we're teetering on closing out schools again here in Marshall County. If we have, like you said, another couple bad days, we could potentially have schools closed down for 2 weeks. And this is not what we want.
Nobody wants that, yeah.
The thing is, we're not seeing much in the way of in the schools. The Marshall County schools down here have been very good with the sanitization, monitoring kids. There's been a couple kids who've been exposed through things out in the community and that, but we're not seeing the spread in the schools. It's out in the general public.
But the schools will end up paying the price if the general public spread is too high.
Absolutely.
So you think it's just people sort of getting lax, people are not paying attention to social distancing, masks, and so on. And I'm guessing, and I'm just guessing, you can reflect on this if you want to. I'm guessing it's not even those. There was a period of time a few months back, Mark, where there was that sort of anti-mask attitude. You're not going to make me wear a mask. I refuse to wear it. I don't see as much of that around here. Now, I had a story this morning. Belmont County had some of it yesterday, but I don't see a lot of that around here. I just think people are just sort of getting lax. It's not that they're fighting the mask mandate. It's just they're not caring much about it anymore.
We still hear from quite a number of people that they believe, and their personal belief is fine, that the masks are completely useless. They're not going to do it. So we still see that around. It's still prevalent with the individuals. I think one of the things was, number one, it took a lot of time to get enough masks into the community for people to have constant access to them. And it just took more and more for people to start coming out, for everybody to start seeing. And then you saw more people starting to wear them. But you still have a lot of those out there who just say, there's no way I'm going to do it.
I don't understand it, and I'm not asking you to give me an explanation, but I don't understand it. You've heard me say before, probably, nobody gets up in arms if you walk to a restaurant and says no shoes, no shirt, no service. You go, oh, okay, all right, then I can't go in bare-chested. It's simple as that. Nobody seems to think there's some constitutional issue there if a restaurant doesn't want you in there in the wrong kind of attire. But this mask thing somewhere has begun, and maybe it's because it's the difference between a private sector business and the government making that decision, but I just don't get it. Put the mask on. It's not like we're asking you to get into a hazmat suit or something.
Right. We have a number of facilities down here who they absolutely, by the individual store or their corporate or whatever, they have a stronger policy than what the governor says. I mean, they absolutely refuse. You will not walk in their door without a mask, and we applaud them for that.
It's tough for a business. It's tough for anybody in the business who has to enforce that, though. I mean, I think we should enforce it. And I think it should be, if that's your policy, and it should be your policy, it should be absolutely non-negotiable. Nope, wear a mask, don't come in, period. That's a hard thing to enforce sometimes when you got folks who are being maybe belligerent with you or just being a little bit aggressive. And you got
it is,
people
and there's a
working
lot
at a
of
store.
those stores that don't want to do that just because of that exact issue. They don't want to put their employees at risk, and we know that, of being assaulted or something like that. So every one of these stores and businesses have a hard decision to make when it comes to that area.
Mark, have you had in Marshall County any businesses that are just blanket refusing that? I know that there's a couple in Ohio County that are basically simply saying, I'm letting people come in without masks. I'm not going to ask my staff to wear masks. If you don't like it, don't come in. We've seen a couple of stories about that around the state of West Virginia as well. Do you have any businesses that are just simply plain and simple saying, I'm not going to enforce this at all?
Yes, we do. We continue to try to work with them. we continue to try to work with the state to determine exactly what we can do.
What can you do?
Well, at first you have to build a case. You have to repeatedly go in, working with them, document it, and then eventually there is that potential, because the only ones that we have authority of is only like food establishments and that. And then the state says after you've built up enough of a case, you have a potential to potentially pull their permit for a period of time, just kind of like what the governor's done with the bars and that down in Mon County previously.
You make a good point that I think the general public doesn't stop to think about. Folks, I'm always getting calls or emails or texts or people saying, Howard, such and such a place is not requiring masks. The health departments only have a certain kind of jurisdiction, primarily bars and restaurants. You really can't, there's not a whole lot you can do, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but there's not a whole lot you can do outside of restaurants or bars. If another business is not enforcing a mask mandate or is allowing people to come in without masks, you can talk to them, but you really can't do much, right?
Correct. We have absolutely no jurisdiction on any facility that we don't have permits with, and those are food establishments.
So in the case of a food establishment, you can threaten and eventually pull, if you choose to, a food permit, but at least you've got some leverage there. You go to a restaurant and say, guys, you're not following guidelines. If you keep this up, we're going to have to pull your permit. That gives you some leverage, but that's not the case elsewhere in other kinds of businesses. So
Correct.
I just think the public needs to keep that in mind, that you can't, it's not always the health department's responsibility other than in food establishments. And then, Mark, I saw a story from Channel 7 this week, and I wanted your reflection on this. I guess earlier in the week, there were some social media postings, people basically saying, don't believe the health department, they're lying to us, right?
Correct. We had several postings put out that way, and we see them on different sites saying that we're part of the establishment, that we're only getting additional money if we report additional cases. The only thing we get is additional work. We don't get additional money because of that.
Part of me wants to laugh, but I can't laugh because I know that the people are out there serious about this. It's not like you get a bonus every case. We've got 4 new cases of COVID, we get a bonus. It doesn't work that way.
Well, I think in today's day and age, everybody is so driven by information that this is maybe having an effect on some people because they can't see this paperwork, these test results, to verify that we're being truthful. This is all HIPAA-protected information, and they can't see the end result on the paperwork, and so they think that we're lying to them. That could be the reason. We're not sure.
I think some people just like to be obstreperous, and then I don't know. It's become a political issue, which I don't fully understand. I guess I understand it, but I guess I don't. I understand it, but I don't understand it. It's a political issue. No, it's not. Just wear a mask. You guys are trying to, and it's true of health departments all across the state. You're just trying to do your job, gather information, report the information to the best of your ability under laws, and the idea that somehow it's a part of a government conspiracy, I guess, or whatever. That sort of stuff is still far too prevalent, I guess, in our society.
It is, and we're trying to do the best job we can. We're county employees. We're not making a fortune here, but people that get into public health get into it for that reason because they want to help people. Yeah,
that's a really good point. Maybe more so than other branches of government, for that matter. I have seen that personally. Public health employees really feel they have a mission to do the right thing, so that's true. Anything else you want to tell us, Mark, about now that you're on Orange? So you will have more testing today and for a period of time. You're going to be watching the DHHR map, which will come out at 10 o'clock, is that right?
Yes.
And that could change things depending on how things go, but anything else you want us to be aware of or to know before I let you go?
We'd like anybody that's wanting to, please come down to the health department. We've got the free testing. Right now our plans are all weekend, through the weekend, so we'll be up and running. come down and get a test. Results are coming somewhere between 3 to 5 days. They're getting back fairly quick the last time. And we have so many asymptomatic people out there, we'd rather see them come and get a test and have that knowledge whether or not they're positive.
There is no cost. And is it a drive-through or is it go into your health department?
It's drive-through right out on Court Street, okay. right out front of the health department, and just wrap around the courthouse here and come right in. We'll get them registered, get them tested, generally out in a couple minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any concerns at all, this is a good time to get tested. Is it Marshall County residents only, or is this open to anybody?
This is open to anybody. Only thing we have you do is bring an ID card, just so we can put your information down on the form, and so we know how to get a hold of you.
Okay. Mark, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for the work that you do. Thanks for joining us today. Let's hope that things at the worst stay orange and don't go anywhere else come 10 o'clock this morning.
That is our hopes this morning. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Howard.
Have a good day. Mark Ackerman is the Threat Preparedness Director at the Marshall County Health Department. So free COVID testing all day today and into the weekend at least. Marshall County has now turned orange on the DHHR map. And again, most of the time we don't pay a lot of attention. We, the general public, aren't paying a whole lot of attention to that because we tend to focus on the school map, which is the Saturday map, 5 o'clock, Department of Education map. But the DHHR map is kind of the precursor to the Department of Education map spins off of the DHHR map. Then the governor and the Department of Education massage the numbers a little bit and, in my mind, play with things a bit. So make sure we play football. But health departments and others have to pay attention to the DHHR map. So it turned orange yesterday in Marshall County. And Mark says, given the trend they're seeing, it's conceivable they could be turning red. And that's something that nobody wants to see. 8:32, 28 before the hour. Biffy, the conspiracy, I don't, all of this conspiracy stuff, I always ask myself, when you believe there's a conspiracy of any kind, number one, how do you think it stays secret? In this day, Biffy, if you and I have a secret and we tell one more person, by tomorrow it's all through the radio station.
Oh, yeah.
There is no such thing as a secret anymore. Conspiracies don't make any logical sense. You can't keep a conspiracy quiet anymore. If you ever could, and probably you never could, but you can't keep it quiet anymore. So the first thing I ask is, how do you think this works? How do you think conspiracy theories work? Especially folks who believe things like the deep state, people that work for the government are a deep state. Hundreds across the country, hundreds of thousands of people working there, and nobody is going out and blabbing that they have a secret cabal. I mean, it doesn't make logical sense. And then I ask myself oftentimes, to what end? If you believe the conspiracy theory, why are people engaging in this conspiracy? Well, I guess here in Marshall County earlier in the week when there were people on social media posting the health department was lying, they were implying that the health department somehow gets paid, gets more money if they have more COVID cases. Not true. It just isn't the case. So, number one, how do you keep a conspiracy quiet? And number two, what's the purpose of it? I've been in journalism all my life, and I always love this idea that there is some kind of a conspiracy among journalists. The journalists, the fake media, they're all working together to destroy Donald Trump or to destroy whatever. You can't get 3 journalists to agree on anything. I mean, seriously. It's an impractical matter. It can't happen. It just doesn't happen. And then some of these conspiracy theories are just goofy, Biff. The president of the United States this week retweeted a conspiracy theory. And this is so goofy, it's hard to believe even Donald Trump would do this, but Donald Trump retweeted a conspiracy theory that bin Laden was not killed during the Navy SEAL raid under President Obama. The bin Laden body was a body double. And bin Laden is being hidden, and I guess it's going to come out of hiding when Biden becomes president or some such goofy thing as that. How in the world can anybody believe that, but let alone the president of the United States? But he retweeted that. Now, I'm sure his answer is, well, I didn't say it. I just retweeted that. But Osama bin Laden it was a body double. You people are reading too many Tom Clancy novels. Yesterday, one of the Navy SEALs who actually killed bin Laden had to come forward and say, excuse me, but I killed him. It wasn't a body double. It wasn't body double. This guy's name, Robert O'Neill, former Navy SEAL. He said, and by the way, he says he is a Trump supporter. He supports Trump, but Trump's conspiracy here is wrong. Quote, and he says, well, he said crap, but use a different word for crap. You know what I'm saying, Biffy?
Yes.
He says, crap. I just found out I killed Osama bin Johnson. Conspiracy theories. They used to be fun. I used to talk a lot about conspiracy theories in the show because they were so goofy and they were so on the sidelines. Nobody would believe them. So it was kind of fun to talk about them. Can't even talk about it anymore because everyone believes it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, there was no conspiracy at the gubernatorial debate. Ben Salango and Jim Justice had their get-together with Hoppy Kercheval on Tuesday night. Thought I'd ask Mark Curtis from the WTRF-TV's parent company, Nexstar Media, to share his thoughts with us. And we'll do that coming up next here on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local news.
Good morning to you. Back in a minute, Biffy. Thank you. Okay, I'm back, Miffy. Is Mark there yet? Okay, thanks.
Stills, those type of guys are guys that we expect to be highly productive each and every week.
One other topic on today's report, what if Neil Brown had to go to the sideline or off of the field because of COVID-19? That was a question raised earlier this week from reporter Greg Hunter.
This is a coach with Les Miles being COVID positive. A number of coaches have also been. Leads me to wonder about your line of succession. What happens if you can't coach?
Do they tell who the designated survivor is? Huh? They don't tell that. They don't tell that, Greg. We got a plan. Got a plan. It's in a vault.
And that's where he left it. More Neil Brown tonight. Join us right here. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Hello, I'm Wheeling Fire Chief Larry Helms. As our city and region get back to business, it's extremely important to continue the following specific health guidelines to stop the spread of COVID-19. This virus is highly contagious and is more deadly than the flu. Please wear a mask or face covering in public, wash your hands more often, socially distance yourself as much as possible, and by following these guidelines, it potentially could save your life.
Frio Stack and Associates auctioneers, realtors, certified appraisers specializing in antiques, business liquidations, multi-parcel land auctions. Frio Stack and Associates is a regional business offering the executor, attorney, agent, and other individuals the most comprehensive and technologically advanced auction and appraisal services available. For information on our service, call our office at 304-233-3168 or email frioauc@aol.com. Frio Stack and Associates sells the earth and everything on it. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
He rambles, he rants, and sometimes he sings. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
Anniversary day for yours truly. My lovely wife and I have been married 43 years today. I always say 43 years of marriage. I don't know, 34 of married bliss. A few of those you just got to put off on the side. It's not like it's been 43 perfect years, but 43 good years nonetheless. Some texts from you folks appreciating my anniversary. Let's see, off the text line, 304-214-1600. Just a simple happy anniversary. What do you do that you haven't already done for 43 years? That's a good point. I mean, we don't even go out to dinner right now because I'm still not doing restaurants, so we can't even go out to dinner. But we'll find some way to enjoy ourselves. And the little grandson will probably be here, and that will be fun as well. Let's see, what does Mark have to say here? Wow, Nancy, is she a saint or is she really, really stupid? Well, that wasn't very nice, I don't think. But no, we have no special plans because we don't make special plans for anything. I mean, we're here in the house all day long. Tuesday night was the big gubernatorial debate in West Virginia. Jim Justice and Ben Salango. We talked a bit about it yesterday and had some reflection on it. I invited from WTRF TV's parent company, Nexstar Media, Mark Curtis, their chief political correspondent, to join us and talk about it. Mark, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Howard, and let me also say happy anniversary to you and your wife, number 46. My wife and I hit number 30 last week. October's a good month to get married. October's a great month to get married.
You know. Now, are you like me, though? I would say, how many years, 30?
30.
is it 30 years of wedded bliss, or is it about 26 years of wedded bliss? But on and off, there are those troubled times. That's the way I always look at it.
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you, and I've talked to other people about this, so I don't think I'm sharing any secrets. When this whole quarantine started, you were forced to spend a lot more time with your spouse in the house, you know, sitting on the couch watching Netflix and drinking wine. It created a lot more tension, I think, because, you know, when you're married, you go this way, she goes that way, you go to work, she goes to work, you gather for dinner, but all of a sudden you're forced to almost like sit in a phone booth and spend an inordinate amount of time together. You can get on each other's nerves a little bit. So
it's absolutely, and you're right. I think everybody has felt that at one point or another.
Yeah,
and it's even worse for me because I mean I'm here broadcasting from home all day. I literally never leave the house, and you know, other than occasionally going out to do some shopping, she doesn't either. So here we are all day long together. But somehow, after all these years, we've managed to make it work, and so I'm hoping if my heart keeps on ticking, I'll hit 50 here in a handful of years, and we'll have a big 50th, a big golden anniversary.
And I congratulate as you head in that direction. I'll tell you, one of the persons I was joking about this yesterday with, she was in our studios, and I don't think she'd mind telling it because she's the one that said it. You know, we were talking about quarantine and having to stay home, and Shelley Moore Capito, our U.S. Senator, said, if I have to spend another 14 days in quarantine with Charlie, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, Senator, I'm so glad you said that because a lot of us feel the same way. Look, we all love our spouses, but you know,
we love our spouses.
Sometimes you need to come up and take a breath. Sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it's one thing to love our spouses. It's something else to love them all day long. At any rate, let's talk about the debate this week. Give me just sort of an overall overview, your overall assessment of how the debate went between Salango and Justice.
Well, first, both of them, although neither are doctors, they both passed the Hippocratic oath of first do no harm. You know, this was the thing where Justice is well ahead in most polls. Some show that maybe Salango's within striking distance. So you look for the possibility that either man would make a major gaffe or a major mistake or misspeak or get the facts wrong or something, and I don't think either of them did that. It was a very civil debate. There were some pointed exchanges and some barbs thrown by each side. But, you know, Salango was the one that really had to hit the home run here and really stand out because, number one, he does not have the statewide name recognition that Jim Justice does. So I think Ben Salango probably built a lot of respect and a lot of made a lot of fans with people who weren't familiar with him. But I don't know that changed the outcome here. I mean, there might be 6 or 7% of undecided voters out there. I don't know that can swing the balance in this race, especially with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket.
Yeah, I said this yesterday, both on this show and also on Statewide Talk Line, which I think you were on as well. I think both men did a really good job. They each had a different goal in mind, and they both achieved it. You know, Justice had to defend what he's done and, you know, hold his position, if you will. And he did that. And I must say, with Jim Justice, I thought he was a whole lot more focused than he has been during his press conferences. I mean, he was much more direct and to the point. So he was not nearly as roaming around as I thought he would. So I think he accomplished that goal. And Salango's goal, of course, was to defend against criticism and then to lob a few shots at Justice. I thought he did a pretty good job, and he had a couple of good one-liners out there, which were, I think, go to his benefit. But the bottom line, as I told Hoppy yesterday, was I don't know that this moved the needle at all.
Yeah, and I think let's talk about the wild card, and that was a question by Hoppy. It wasn't anything either candidate did, but it was Hoppy who drew out from Salango that Salango was indeed going to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on the presidential side. And you know, there's a good many Democrats in the state that will probably, or conservative Democrats that may vote for Trump, but then switch across the ballot and vote for their candidate. And it's the same thing that happened with, tying Democrats down ballot, tying themselves to Hillary Clinton, who was wholly unpopular in the state. And I don't think Joe Biden is as unpopular in the state as what Hillary Clinton was. But, when you get a candidate to admit that they're going to vote for who seemingly is a very unpopular presidential candidate in this race, that'll stick to Salango. Could hurt him.
Maybe. but politically, I think that's your analysis is correct. But to me, look, you're the Democratic candidate for governor. Joe Biden is not Hillary Clinton. Things were a little bit different with Hillary Clinton because of the absolute intense animosity towards her.
Absolutely.
But you're the Democratic candidate for governor. Why don't you just come out and say right at the beginning, I'm going to vote for the Democratic candidate for president? I mean, it was dragged out of him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable. I'll say this in Salango's defense. I think he had the best barb of the night. He was talking about all the lawsuits still pending against Jim Justice and his companies. And, of course, Salango was a career trial attorney. He's very well known in that legal realm. And he basically said, Governor, you've spent more hours in the courtroom than me. And I thought that was a pretty sharp elbow hit.
Yeah, I thought that was a good line. And I also thought, I mean, that is a pretty typical Republican argument against any candidate who is a trial lawyer. It's said with sort of that dripping, he's a trial lawyer, that kind of attitude.
And that the one time he sued the Red Cross, and I think Salango could have been a little more specific in his response. It was a case where apparently the Red Cross may have been negligent, and maybe it was a blood drive or something, and somebody contracted HIV. I mean, it's a pretty serious thing. And so I know the Red Cross is a revered institution in this country, but if somebody makes a mistake and there's negligence, a victim has the opportunity to go to court, and that's their legal right to be defended by somebody. Well, of Salango's ilk, whether you like trial lawyers or not.
That is a good example of something I've been talking about in the last couple of days, though. Another one, which I'll get to, is the teacher issue. In a debate like this, with 90 seconds for a response, 30 seconds for rebuttal, whatever the format was, and they follow the format very well. And I really think that the Washington Broadcast Association put together a very well-run debate, and Hoppy kept things on going. And I have no criticism of it, except that you don't have time for nuance in a debate like that. You sued the Red Cross. Well, yes, I did, and if I could give you the whole backstory, you might understand it better, but it's hard to do that during debate. Same thing I thought with the teacher's argument. The governor says I put a stake in the sand, making education the centerpiece of a session, which is true. I supported teacher pay raises, which is true. But I think the nuance of that is a little bit different. I mean, the governor did propose a much smaller pay raise. He really didn't get on board until after the teachers struck, and that paints a different picture than what he was painting up front. But you don't have time for a nuance in a debate like this.
Exactly, because I remember the governor's original proposal that year was a 1% raise for teachers for each of the next 5 years. And, of course, the teachers roundly rejected that. And I think he bumped himself up to 3% or 2 or 3% over the next 5 years, and the teachers rejected that, even though they had an agreement. Remember this, they had an agreement between the union presidents and the governor that teachers would go back to school, and the next day the rank and file teachers said, no deal, folks. We're not going back to school. And so that forced the issue and brought it to 5%, and they got 5% the first year and 5% the second year. So for the governor to make it sound like he was on board the whole time, that's pretty disingenuous. He was literally, and a lot of the Republican leadership was dragged kicking and screaming to finally approve that pay raise. They were far more willing to come up with the 5% the second year.
Would you agree with me, though, that the governor did handle himself a little bit better during this debate than he has sometimes during his press conferences? And I'm not going to ask you to criticize the governor. I do, but I'm not asking you to do that. But his press conferences can be awfully roaming, wandering around kind of things. Hard to get a focus. And he was really pretty well focused, I thought, during this debate.
I think the word is disciplined. He meanders in press conference. He wanders. He gets folksy. He tells stories, and sometimes he doesn't answer the reporters' questions. And it's a very odd format anyway, with all of us remote on Zoom. But the thing I noticed the other night, he was very disciplined and focused. And remember, in any debate, the incumbent is always obligated to defend his record. And I think the governor did a very good job of defending his record on the economy, on education, on economic development, on bringing new businesses into the state. No, it's not where he wants to be yet on his so-called rocket ship ride. But you have to look at where we were 4 years ago and today, and are we moving in a different direction? Is the state better off financially than it was 4 years ago? And the answer is yes. We're not down at the legislature in special session trying to find $500 million to cover a deficit. That didn't happen this year.
in talking to Hoppy yesterday, he and I both agreed, and hopefully you'll concur. It would have been helpful if we had had one more debate. I thought we got a big overview of each of the guys' positions this week. I would like to have seen a session or a debate on the economy, maybe drilling down a little bit more on details of budget and policy and so on. Maybe a little more boring than the stuff we had, but we didn't get into the weeds on all of that stuff, and I wish we could have maybe seen more of that from each of those guys.
Yeah, my analogy is this, and you probably know that I'm a big foodie and I'm an amateur chef. What we got the other night was a tremendous appetizer. It was the best appetizer I've ever had. And then we're not going to get a main course. We're not going to get the dessert course. We're not going to get the cheese plates, all the other courses. And I think we would have got those. And so what I'm saying there, in short, is that we should have had far more debates. Look, my company, Nexstar Media, we offered to host the debate as well on all 5 of our stations that serve West Virginia. We penetrate all 55 counties. And Salango said absolutely, and the governor's folks said no. They were only going to do one debate, and it was the one. And I'm not attacking the governor there. That's typical of incumbents. I mean, we tried to get Senator Capito to debate her opponent, Mac Warner, Patrick Morrissey, on down the line. And, the incumbents, it's always more dangerous for an incumbent to go into a debate. I get that. But I was disappointed that we didn't have more. I'm disappointed that President Trump and Joe Biden aren't debating tonight together. They're both hosting separate town hall meetings. And I think the big loser when this happens is the public. It's the voters.
I agree. So, final question, Mark. Given the polling numbers we've seen, and they're somewhat disparate depending on which poll you look at, given where we are today, given what happened on Tuesday, does Salango have time and ability to make up the deficit between now and Election Day?
Here's what I would do if I was him. I'd go out and film a new commercial. I would find the absolute worst roads in the state with the most potholes and the road slips and say, yeah, the Roads to Prosperity thing is helping some places, but for the vast majority of West Virginians, especially in rural areas, look at the state of their roads. Have things really gotten better for them? Look, that's a bread and butter issue that the average voter can relate to day in and out, because they have to drive those votes. And I think he needs to make some very pointed attacks, and he's got to do it in the commercials since there's no more debate. So if I were him, maybe do another commercial about the confusion over the color-coded maps. I mean, parents I've talked to all over the state are furious about these color-coded school maps. They literally don't know what to do with their kids each and every day. They're very confused by it, and they're very upset by it.
And that's the one area I wish we've seen more on Monday night or Tuesday night, was more on the maps. To me, that's a pretty big issue. I think Hoppy used a couple of map questions as his first and second question. I don't think the guys were engaged enough. It takes a little while for them to ramp up, so we really didn't get a lot of debate on that. And I'm with you. I think that is for sort of the average person, not the political insiders like you and I, but for the average person, the map probably is one of the biggest issues in the state. All right, Mark, I'm out of time. I appreciate your time this morning. Always good talking to you.
Absolutely, Howard. I'd love to talk to you again soon.
Whenever I get out and start going places, and maybe I'll come to Charleston, you can fix me one of those fine meals that I see you showing on Facebook all the time.
Hey, I've got Senator Capito and her opponent Paula Jean Swearingen on Inside West Virginia Politics this weekend.
Sounds good. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Howard.
Mark Curtis from WTRF TV's parent company, Nexstar Media. It's 9 o'clock, Watchdog Morning Show. Let's swing to ABC. They cover the world right now.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Country, and today, the Tar Heel.
Biffy, when we come back, we can talk about the new game we added.